Thank you for joining me. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill news brief for Sunday, January 6th, 2019. Here is a report from ilovemyfreedom.org. Watch as a CNN reporter gets her mic taken away after Trump demolishes her over border wall. President Trump absolutely tore into CNN reporter Caitlin Collins over a highly misleading question about the border wall. While addressing reporters on Friday from the White House Rose Garden, the president spoke about the partial government shutdown. Trump met with Republican and Democratic leaders at the White House to discuss a deal on border wall funding and reopening the government. When Trump allowed Collins to ask a question about the negotiations, she was very hostile with her question to the president. Collins claimed Trump was breaking his campaign promise by having a steel wall rather than one made of concrete. A very nice question, so beautifully asked, Trump sarcastically shot back. I just told you that we made a trade deal, he said, calling the $5.6 billion he wants for the wall peanuts, compared to the revenue the trade deal with Mexico and Canada will generate. Trump then educated Collins on construction. Steel is stronger than concrete. I know you're not into the construction business. You don't understand something. We now have a great steel business, he said. Trump then touted the steel industry's growth under his administration. If I build a wall, and the wall is made out of steel instead of concrete, I think that people will like that. I'll have to get it done by companies in our country that are now powerful, great companies again, he said. After Trump educated her on the border wall, the best way to build it, and what experts have told him about its effectiveness, a White House official took the microphone away from her. Collins continued to scream her question at Trump and even yelled so loudly that another reporter was forced to pause momentarily before he could ask his question. Let's go ahead and watch in this tweet from Ryan Saavedra.
Absolutely, Mexico is paying for the wall, and that's fine.
Will you be pressuring Putin?
Yes, ma'am. Go.
You ran your campaign promising supporters that Mexico is going to pay for the wall and that the wall was going to be made of concrete. You just said earlier that the wall could be made of steel, and right now our government is shut down over a demand from your administration that the American taxpayer pay for the wall. So how can you say you're not failing on that promise to your supporters?
Very nice question, so beautifully asked, even though I just answered.
You didn't
Look,
answer.
let me just say, excuse me, are you ready? Are you ready? I just told you the concrete wall.
So if the new trade deal, Mr. President,
Jeff,
President,
go ahead.
if the new trade deal,
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
you
Go ahead, Jeff.
you met.
Trump takes note of the CNN reporter's hostility during the press conference. Oh, here we go again, Trump responded, later adding, a very nice question, so beautifully asked, even though I just answered. CNN's Caitlin Collins gets the mic taken away from her as she repeatedly shouted at Donald Trump after he answered her questions. Caitlin Collins, classy lady. Now we have an update on the Peter Sweden story. Public statement on recent things that has been going on, which was first written about by Nick Mon 1112 regarding my break from social media during December. Let's take a look. In August last year, I was contacted by someone from a news outlet regarding news-related things. But our conversation went on, and after a while, it was clear this person was interested in a relationship. That news organization is Voice of Europe, and that individual is Laura Katt. Me, being a prominent voice in reporting on events, especially in Sweden, that usually goes unreported by most of the media, and thus being a dissident voice, I had been very concerned of the risk of honeypots. But as this person was a prominent position at a large and well-known conservative European news outlet whom I have worked with in the past and know well, I completely trusted everything. There were things that seemed odd. For example, this person knew all of my personal opinions and values, even those I don't share even in public. This person seemed to know before I told her. Even though I thought it could be odd, as this person worked at a well-known and trusted news outlet, I thought it was just a happy coincidence. As time went on, I realized that many of the opinions and values that this person had first told me later on turned out to not much match reality. Old social media posts where this person was saying she was married, had children, and was even over 30 years old, to now saying she's in her mid-20s, no children, and never married. Many other things, like knowing this person was talking intimate with other men during the time of our relationship and not telling the truth about such things. It's normal in any relationship for family to know about each other. As was this case here, this person refused to let me or my family know anything about who her family was and other personal things that are normal to know about each other. This caused conflict between this person and my family. She and my family didn't get along at all, going so far as to this person even blocking my family on social media. There are things that haven't been adding up, causing friends and family to be concerned. This was a hard and stressful time for me, so I took a break from my work and public life during the month of December. I see there are theories that have been spread online about motives. I'm not even going to speculate on the motives or anything like that, and I sincerely wish everyone involved the best, and I urge everyone to treat everyone with respect and not to harass or threaten anyone. Well, looks like Peter is still caught in the honey trap. He seems to have broken out of his programming a little bit, but he's still defending this woman, and despite the fact that he's admitted that she was talking to other men, or that she's far older than she said she was, or that she even has a child. What about all of the Photoshop pictures, Peter? Didn't that clue you in? I sincerely wish the best for Peter Sweden. I respect him. I just hope that he doesn't stay trapped inside this particular honeypot. Now we have a tweet from Tiffany Fitzhenry. Tiffany posted that 72 school buses to represent the 3,600 child victims of slavery traffic through Georgia each year, that's just Georgia, just drove through the city of Atlanta. ATL has long been the hub of U.S. trafficking. This bold statement is like nothing I've ever seen before in this state. Let's take a look. One bus equals 50 kids sold for stuff each year in Georgia. 3,600 kids. Wow. A string of recent operations has led to dozens of arrests. Because the victims are so vulnerable as children, the offenders could be from just about any walk of life, from a gang member all the way up to someone who is highly successful and wealthy. Wow, they rescued nearly 160 children. Kasim Reed, who is Atlanta mayor from 2010 to 2018, has been named in at least 2 federal grand jury subpoenas, and as of yesterday, formally sought counsel. Anytime FBI agents hold you by your ankles and shake you, who knows what falls out? This is amazing. This brings me to Atlanta resident R. Kelly, whose long history of connection to this evil web of globally trafficked underage slaves for the wealthy and powerful, especially connected to Hollywood and DC elites, is easy to trace. 24 years of misconduct allegations against R. Kelly. Wow, R. Kelly is a real scumbag. Last spring, Oprah and other Hollywood heavyweights turned Me Too into Time's Up. The singular mission of Time's Up seemed to become mute R. Kelly. He was removed from Spotify, his decades of crimes widely exposed by mainstream media, and now a doc, Surviving R. Kelly, is released on Lifetime. I've heard that's pretty scathing. Who is featured in the documentary, helping keep the spotlight for all child crimes focused squarely on R. Kelly? Why, it's none other than John Legend. To me, looking at everything, it's clear that these child networks, the hub of which have centered around Atlanta and people like R. Kelly, are being broken up. It's obvious. The powerful will continue to eat one another alive. This is just the beginning. And I'd like to mention that this is all thanks to President Donald Trump, because only he has had the courage to stand up and fight these disgusting traffickers. Now in a story from Breitbart. There's a report that says Coward of Broward covered up sexual assault incident involving Sheriff Scott Israel's son. A report by Real Clear Investigations suggests Sheriff Scott Israel did not fire Deputy Scott Peterson, a.k.a. the Coward of Broward, following the Parkland school shooting because Peterson covered up a sexual assault incident involving the sheriff's son. According to RCI, in 2014, Israel's then 17-year-old son Brett was accused of participating in an assault on a 14-year-old boy at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Peterson wrote up a report of the incident in which he said the victim alleged that Israel, then the school's starting quarterback, held him down while another senior kicked him, grabbed his genitals, and rammed a baseball bat between his buttocks, simulating rape. Individuals with knowledge of the accusations say Peterson could have pursued federal charges against Israel, instead reduced the matter to simple battery. This allowed Israel to benefit from an Obama-era disciplinary reduction policy and receive a 3-day suspension over the incident. RCI reports that Peterson's handling of this situation is being put forward as a possible reason why Israel did not fire the deputy after he refused to go inside and confront the Parkland shooter. Instead, Israel allowed Peterson to resign, and he now draws a pension of over $100,000 a year. Peterson arrived on scene at Building 12 on the Parkland campus some 90 seconds into the attack. He stood outside the building as the gunman continued shooting and moving floor to floor to find more innocents. Months after the incident, Peter told CBS News that he would enter that building in a heartbeat if he could do it all over again. 17 innocents were killed in the attack, and the gunman, facing no armed response, had time to pause and reload 5 times. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. All right, and after the tremendous response last night, I have another thread from Greg Rubini. This has to do with Rod Rosenstein. Rubini starts, why did Rosenstein sign the renewal of the FISA warrant in June 2017? This is the key to everything else. Remember this. The deep state, HRC cabal, Dems are convinced that Rod Rosenstein is their man to indict, impeach President Trump. And they have been convinced of this all along. They still are. Rod Rosenstein was confirmed by an astounding 96-4 vote. Almost all the Democrats, along with the Republicans, voted yes on Rod Rosenstein as Deputy Attorney General. It was Rod Rosenstein who forced Jeff Sessions to recuse himself from the Trump-Russia collusion investigation and all related matters. It was early May 2017. Rosenstein was sworn into office on April 27, 2017. Very quick. From then on, May 2017, Rod Rosenstein is the de facto Attorney General, and still is in September 2018. Jeff Sessions appears just as a side figure. On May 27, 2017, Rosenstein says Comey must be fired. It was just 10 days after Rod Rosenstein was in charge as a Deputy Attorney General at the DOJ. Swift action. On May 9, 2017, President Trump fires FBI Director James Comey following Rosenstein's advice. Remember, at that time, May 2017, the Dems, deep state, were viewing Comey as the guilty one for the HRC defeat of the elections, so they were quite happy of Comey's firing. They saw Rosenstein as their hero for advising Comey's firing. It was Rod Rosenstein who appointed Robert Mueller as special counsel tasked to investigate the supposed Trump-Russia collusion on May 17, 2017. We now know that the Trump-Russia collusion investigation had been ignited back in July 2016 by the FBI criminal gang led by Peter Strzok, Andrew McCabe, Lisa Page, and James Comey as an insurance policy. Since Rod Rosenstein had appointed Robert Mueller as special counsel to investigate the supposed Trump-Russia collusion, the deep state, HRC cabal, Dems had solid confirmation that Rod Rosenstein was on their side. We now know the Dems are very gullible and that their IQ is very low. Trump knows it quite well, and he trolls them big time. Also remember that Trump announced his candidacy in June 2015. He had 16 contenders for the Republican nomination. One by one, he smashed them all. The deep state cabal had decided the 2016 election had to be a Jeb Bush versus Hillary Clinton one. As we know, it did not go that way. Against all odds, against all the polls which were giving 92% to 98% chance of victory to Hillary Clinton and none to Donald Trump, against all the mainstream media propaganda and fake media, CNN, New York Times, WAPO, etc., Donald Trump won. Never underestimate Donald Trump. Now remember this. Rod Rosenstein had been appointed by Trump, not by Obama, in February 2017, just 1 month after the Trump inauguration. Is Rod Rosenstein a Democrat? No. Rosenstein is a Republican. And remember that Special Counsel Robert Mueller reports to Rod Rosenstein, not to Jeff Sessions. Rod Rosenstein is the de facto Attorney General. At the moment, he is the most powerful person in Washington, D.C. Not anymore now that we have Matthew Whitaker. Do you really think that a man so smart as Donald Trump would appoint a Deputy Attorney General, a tool of the enemy, a deep state puppet? Think again. Do you really think that the Sessions recusal had not been planned well in advance? Think again. Deep state is a dangerous and powerful enemy. Think of them as sharks. The Clintons, the Soros cabal, Rothschilds, Google execs, John Doerr, etc. What do you give the sharks? You give them blood. By throwing blood in the water, you can make the sharks go wherever you want. Think of decoys in military terms. Remember, this is a war. War is planned. This is a special war. It was planned well in advance back in 2014 and 2015 by a group of military generals and military intelligence. All moves and tactics were carefully evaluated. The enemy's moves and countermoves were considered like in a game of chess. Think of it as a game of 60 chess. In Star Trek, Deanna Troi and Data play a 6D chess game. I loved Star Trek The Next Generation. Gambit. And consider this. Mueller investigation has been ongoing for 1.5 years now, a very long time. Has Mueller indicted Donald Trump? No. Has Flynn been sentenced in spite of the plea deal? No. Flynn's sentencing has been delayed 4 times, and yet again even since this tweet thread. Has President Trump fired Rosenstein? Remember, Trump has the authority to do it. Has President Trump fired Rosenstein? Again, no. These 3 facts should suggest to you that the game is not what is being portrayed. Plus, from August 8th, 2018 Wall Street Journal article, Trump said, "I have a fantastic relationship with Mr. Rosenstein." Rosenstein visits the White House as often as 3 times a week, meeting with the President or White House Chief of Staff General John Kelly. Trump has a fantastic relationship with Mr. Rosenstein. Really? Rosenstein meets Trump 3 times a week? For what? Do you meet with your enemy's puppet 3 times a week? Back to the FISA renewal. By July 2017, the FISA had to be renewed, or the FISA spy warrant simply expired. Then back to our first question. Why did Rosenstein approve the renewal of the FISA warrant in late June 2017? 2 reasons. First, to reassure the deep state that he, Rosenstein, is on their side. Second, subtle, to have the ability to nail down all the fake FISA conspirators by keeping them on a leash and finding more damning information to indict them and bring them all to jail. Gambit. Pure genius. Rod Rosenstein, a deep state puppet or an undercover Trump ally, continues in part 2 here. And we'll read part 2 in tomorrow's morning video. I want to thank you everyone for joining me. I am Red Pill 78, and as always, the corruption detector here on your Red Pill News. Thank you everyone. Have a wonderful Sunday, and God bless.